The Fire Store, equipping protectors with passion. Every decision the Fire Store makes as a company is about its customers. As the holiday season has quickly approached, explore a wide selection of unique and practical gifts at the Fire Store's Gift Center. Find the perfect presents for firefighters, EMTs, and first responders today. The Fire Store's goal is to get you the gear you need when you need it at prices you can afford. Visit thefirestore.com for everything but the truck and shop its family of brands including Streamlight, MSA, Lion, Fleer, and more.
Breathing in diesel exhaust fumes is like walking into a fire without a mask. Over time, those toxins lead to cancer. Protect yourself with MagneGrip, the easiest, most reliable exhaust removal system that features a true 100% seal to eliminate diesel exhaust fumes. To get free grant assistance, visit MagneGrip.com.
Fire Service Data and Tech Talk.
Hey gang, it's Eddie Buchanan with the Fire Service Data and Tech Talk on fire engineering. We're here for the last episode of 2023, and which means FDIC 24 is coming soon, FDIC International. So if you haven't registered for that, you certainly want to go check that out at FDIC.com. I'm doing a workshop there this year called Operationalizing Data in the Fire Service. It's a 4-hour workshop where we're going to talk about, it's really an interesting thing because I don't know who's going to be in the class yet, right? I might have any level of experience. So we're going to start with a level, kind of to level the playing field in that workshop. We're going to talk about sources of data, what types of data. We're going to get into all that, and then we'll start moving into some of the more advanced topics. So you'll have the opportunity, no matter your skill set, we'll get you straight. We'll make sure that you're able to participate in that workshop. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to talk about data beyond up to the air brake and beyond the air brake. So it should be an interesting conversation, and I look forward to seeing you there. So FDIC.com, make sure you go get registered soon because housing and all that and classes fill up. And if you're waiting on that money to turn green in January, just make sure you're doing it the first week right there. So we'll hope to see you in Indianapolis in April. The other thing I wanted to mention right off the bat is the Nass data standard released. This is airing in December of 23, so it just released yesterday. If you haven't checked that out, I would really encourage you to go take a look. I think they did a really good job for version 1, first right out of the gate. You go over to fsri.org and look under their programs, and you'll see the Nass tab there. Go look at that. They've got a webinar on how fire departments can prepare for Nass when that comes out in the next year or so. Things like getting your GIS information straight, getting your CAD data straight, and then look into the specific data standard. You can download it, take a look at it. It's like Excel workbooks that you can look at. There's 3 of them, I believe. They look at fire department specifications of how to classify your fire department. They're looking at standardizing unit and call typing, which will be awesome because many fire departments do it a lot of different ways. To have some sort of common language will be fantastic. And then also looking at how it involves CAD. So if your fire department owns your CAD, your 911 center, that's great. You want to make sure your 911 director is part of this conversation. If you're in a fire department where you don't necessarily own your 911 center and your CAD, you want to start talking to those folks now because it might take a few minutes for them to start paying attention. So get those conversations started early, but head over to fsri.org and look under their programs tab and get more information on that. Now, this month's conversation is going to be really more about technology and tactics. A lot of the episodes have focused on data specifically, but I saw something the other day that really kind of caught my eye, and that doesn't happen a lot when I'm walking around the exhibit floor. Just from being around them so much, I've been around. Seldom do I see something new, but I saw something that really kind of caught my attention. It was at TSI, Technology Summit International in Irving, Texas, a couple of weeks ago. I had seen this company before. I had seen these products, this equipment, and I'd walked right by it, quite honestly. And I try to think of myself as a kind of progressive tactics person. I'm always looking at what's next and what's coming down range. But I had walked past this stuff, for a year or two prior to this, and I had never really stopped and understood what it was. And it was through conversations at TSI that I really dug into what's going on and what this equipment was. And it kind of blew me away because the ramifications of this are fairly significant. So my first question was, who is using this stuff right now? Because I want to talk to them and understand how it works, how fire departments are applying this technology, and how does that influence tactics, standard operating guidelines? How does it influence staffing? Which I think in the future it really could have some significant impact. So I hunted down some fire chiefs who were kind enough to join us on the show today to tell us how they're actually using this technology, and we'll get into it in some detail. So I want to introduce first. I'll introduce Chief Kurt Nass. Am I saying it right, Nass or Nass?
You got it. Nass is good.
Nass is how it goes. Chief Nass. So, Chief, tell us where you're from and a little bit about your fire department. Like, what type of fire department are you? And describe a little bit about the technology. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's just start there because I want to go around the horn. Tell me about your fire department and where you are and kind of the structure, like the makeup of your fire department.
Gotcha. I'm about an hour north of Detroit in Hadley Township, Michigan. We're a bedroom community, no industry. I have 2 state parks, cover 36 square miles, a lot of wooded areas, rolling hills, small farms, population of just under 5,000. And we run about between 270 and 300 runs a year, and that includes medicals.
Okay, so your career volunteer, how's that work out?
All pay-per-call volunteer.
All pay-per-call. All right, very good. And also joining us today is I can't get these names right. Chief Meyer? How do you say it, Chief?
That's it.
Meyer. Well, welcome, Chief. Tell us about the same thing. What type of department you're from, and kind of what your community is like there.
We're a combination department, so we have 2 staff stations, 24 paid guys, and then probably about that many volunteers. Cover 163 square miles, a couple of towns, and then a lot of rural area also. So a population of about 40,000 people.
How many fires do you think you're getting into each year?
Around 300.
Okay, good number. Yeah. So, Chief Nass, give us the rundown. Describe what this technology is, from the pump to the nozzle to the tablet. Kind of walk us around the block and explain just what the heck is this thing?
Well, basically, it's an interface that replaces everything that you grew up on and everybody else is, aware of. I think it's basically the new way of running a fire truck. Everybody has a smartphone, computer, social media, everything. It's just updating the fire truck interface. Now you have eliminated basically all the crazy dials and levers and everything like that, and just put it in an interface that's probably familiar for today's firefighter.
So I'm looking at the picture behind you, and I noticed when I look at that pump panel, the first thing that jumps out at me is I don't see any levers on it.
Yep.
I see discharges.
Yep.
And I see intakes, but I don't see any levers.
Yep. It's all on the SAM computer interface.
Okay. And I understand there's like a nozzle that goes with this thing?
That's correct. I believe I have the first one in the world. I have the beta version of the smart nozzle. And what that allows you to do, it happened to be a straight bore. It would have been nicer to get the combo, but I think somebody else got that after me. What it does is it allows for one that has ever pulled a 2.5 inch or even 1.75 inch up a stairwell charged. This thing is pretty awesome. You run to where you need to go with the nozzle, not charged hose, so you can maneuver it to wherever you need to be easily. Two personnel, that's all it's going to take to get where you need to be. And then you charge the line yourself, pressing 2 buttons simultaneously for 3 seconds, and you'll charge the line. So if you get into It eliminates extra radio traffic to charge the line. You're in place when you want the water. And then the additional thing to the smart nozzle is it gives you a color cue. So when you're running off your engine, green, it's your full tank. I think it turns to orange, yellow. You get down to a half a tank. It turns to red when you're down to a quarter tank. And when it recognizes when you're actually catching a hydrant or drafting, it turns to blue. So the nozzle person is always aware of the water situation. That's it in a nutshell.
Okay. So, Chief Meyer, what are you guys using? You guys, I understand you're not using the nozzle. You're using mostly the pump technology.
We're
right?
using the pump technology, and then we use a tablet for the pump operator to let them be mobile.
So the first thing when I'm old, right?
Right.
I'm kind of an older fella. So I'm of the days we used to joke that we could roll up underneath the fire truck and take a mallet, get that sucker to go in gear if we had to, right? Like it's old school. There's I would expect to be some apprehension in the fire service about such technology being reliable. Like if this thing doesn't work, what the heck do we do? I can't hit it and make it better. So I'd like to hear from both of you what your opinion is to that kind of predictable response. I think firefighters we all kind of have that same initial caution that if this thing doesn't work, what do I do? So what's your experience like? What's your opinion on that? Whichever one of you want to chew on that first.
This is my biggest argument, especially with city guys who have been around for years and have fought thousands of fires to my hundreds. And I ask them what do they do when their fire truck goes down. And usually I can tell if you're a good engineer or not an engineer. They'll say, call another apparatus or whatever. I'm like, you can't run your truck with a 7/16 wrench? I can. Same technology. It still has all the same fittings to open up the nozzles and open up the valves. 7/16 wrench. They're Velcroed right on the inside of my panel, just like the rest of my apparatus.
Chief Meyer, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with what he said. So there's a screen on the driver's side. There's a screen on the passenger side. Those are independent. I have had a screen failure, and I mean, it was just as simple as, hey, we walk around to the other side of the truck and run the truck from the other side if one of those would go out. So really you're redundant there, or you're going to move to another truck the same as if you – I mean, I've had pumps not operate when everything's manual, and you just hook another truck to it and pump through it and go on. That's how we've always done it. So,
when I was talking to the team at TSI, they made an analogy that I found to be pretty profound. Right? They said, we all flew to Dallas on aircraft. And he was saying, when do you experience the most turbulence? And we were saying, well, typically during takeoff and landing. And then once you get at cruise altitude, it's pretty smooth. And he said, that's because that's when the computers fly in the plane.
right.
It's when the humans are running the plane, that's when you start getting the bumps, right? Things start getting weird. And that resonated with me because, I'm like, yeah, you're right. I'll get on an airplane, won't think anything of that thing flying on a computer. Why should I be so concerned about the same thing with the pumper?
The issue is
certainly it can do that.
The issue is your apparatus is already computer run, unless you have apparatus from the 70s or 80s. It's already running on computers and stuff. We have a VMUX system on our Spartan chassis, and it's all computerized. And everybody else's apparatus is computerized in the last 20 years too. So it's already there, and it already runs. So they're just using the technology in a different facet.
Most of the
So
technology on it is from 2001, 2002. So I mean it's not like it's brand new technology that just came out. It's been out, it's been used in fire trucks, and it works.
And how are you seeing, do you see a difference in the generational firefighters? Like I noticed watching them operate this thing, there's drag and drop type of hand maneuvers they're doing on there. It's like, what do you call them? Gestures, they call it in the
Just a
Apple
swipe.
world. You're swiping things open and closed and like that. My gut reaction is that's probably more intuitive for the younger crowd, right? Or do you see any generational issues with that? Like, do the older guys get it, younger not have trouble getting it? Younger guys get it easier? You see any of that?
Here's my story: is my truck is, I think IDEX is first, so I've had it for it'll be 5-year anniversary next year. And when it was built, it was delivered. IDEX, their SAM guy was in Wisconsin. We took delivery on our apparatus. He was a week away, and he's like, just run it. And we did. We had it in service in 10 minutes. It was that quick. And one of my captains, who's been around for 35 years, said he felt like he was the horse watching the first car drive by. That's how impressive it was. So actually, any restraint on the guys who've been around for a long time, they were actually the first to kind of embrace it. They were shell shocked. They couldn't believe it, how it could be that easy. And at the time, they thought, oh my gosh, you don't need us anymore. But actually, over time, we've discovered that you're a better engineer. I can have a guy that's been on 2 or 3 years, and I will put him as a better engineer than any city fireman that's been running a truck for 20 years. No contest, zero. Because I have hard factual data in front of my face with that interface. And that's usually what starts the fight.
Yeah, that's the other point, I guess, is that it's recording. Right? So this thing's capturing data as the fire progresses, which is something I certainly want to talk about as well. Walk me through a fire. Chief Hire, walk me through, we've been dispatched to a structure fire. We're going to be first in. Kind of walk me through what that's like for you using this technology.
So the basics of it is it's just doing 2 or 3 steps. So I'll use, for instance, you pull up, set the air brake, you engage the pump. Well, as soon as you engage the pump, it's also going to start all the processes. So it's going to start your recirculate. It's going to start everything, all the processes moving. So I engage the pump, and then I just go swipe what discharge I want to do. That's all I have to do to initiate fire attack.
So things like opening tank to pump, depending on where you are too. Like if you're in a colder part of the country, there's probably running a dry pump. You got to open a tank to pump, get things going, circulated. All that stuff's automated.
It's going to do all that for you. All that's going to be happening.
Amazing.
As soon as you engage the pump, all that's going to happen. You literally just going to have to choose what discharge that you want water to come out of.
Okay. Chief, is it any different for you? I know you guys have the nozzle up there, Chief Nass. How is that different for you?
It's exactly as the chief explained. Everything, you've eliminated a few steps. You really don't have to think about it. When it really comes in handy is when you either pull that hydrant or where we exclusively draft here, where I'm at, and it recognizes automatically that you've used water from your tank, and it automatically says, I'm going to fill it. It fills it, and when it gets full, it stops filling. You don't have any water loss or wasted water, overflowing, that type of thing. Which is a benefit to us who draft. It's just amazing that you couple it with the tablet, and instantly I can grab on a tablet during the day. I might have 2 or 3 firefighters available. I can take them right up to a door with the tablet, charge their line, set the pressure, make sure it's not too much, not too little, direct them where I want them to go, and actually knock down a fire before assisting departments or the rest of the crew arrive. So that's been the greatest benefit to us. Just the limited resources. I think I saw a graphic. NFPA takes 14 or 17 people on the fire ground, and we don't get that. It's 3 on the fire ground initially, 4 if we're lucky.
So a couple of important points there I want to visit with. The drafting. So how does the primer work? Does it automate the primer, or does that require, what's that like?
Yes, it's a simple button. Yep. You just push a button.
So it'll decide
what's button, not the actual.
What's different is I grew up on front mount pumps back in the late 80s and early 90s. And everything was right there. And that's where I love front mount pumps. And that's my comfort zone. So everything was right there. And you could work with it. There was nothing electronic about it. It was great. With this system, back then you could finesse going from your tank to a draft. With the electronics from Hale, we have another apparatus that has a Hale pump that's newer, 2004. Because of the electronic checks in the system, you could no longer feather going from a draft where you had firefighters on the nozzle inside. You'd have to warn them, alert them, hey, there's going to be a 8-second, 5-second, 10-second shutdown, or pull them out to get the draft just to make sure they weren't stuck without a charged hose line. Now it's all automatic. Your guys go in, they're fighting fire, you pull a draft, you just hit a button and it's done. You don't do anything. It pulls the charge and you hardly notice a change in pressure on the line. And that's what takes me back to the front mount pump system where you were able to feather that.
And Chief Hire, you seen the same thing from your experience?
Yeah. And so what it does is it pulls all the water all the way up to the intake, and until it sees water at the intake and it's bled all the air out of it, it won't open that intake valve. So as soon as it sees water there, it opens the intake valve, and like Chief said, you never see any results at the end of the line. It just maintains that. So the draft works really good, because that was always a tough thing. We just didn't draft enough to have people really good at it. We had a few guys that were good at it, but not everyone were. It's really no different than running off the hydrant.
Well, that's what I was thinking. As an old training guy, the person that could draft was kind of the maestro. It was right. Like this art form of pulling a draft. And it sounds like now that it's just consistent, and it's not that difficult of a task anymore with this technology.
Yep. And it does the same thing on the hydrant. I can have if my engineer goes and hooks up to the hydrant, they swipe over that they're going to go hook to the hydrant. When they walk to the hydrant, turn the hydrant on, as soon as it sees water from the hydrant, it switches from tank water over to the hydrant. So
it maintains a full tank over the fire.
Yep.
And I heard that you say that it doesn't overfill the tank.
It absolutely, correct. Yes.
It's kind of like a gas pump. You can override the amount of water coming in and manually, and you can adjust that. But like your gas pump, how it slows down right when it gets to the last few cents, that's what it does. It doesn't allow you it'll wind down at the end, so you're not receiving too much water.
That's remarkable. That solves a lot of problems. From training to if you're in a colder environment where if you you have an overfill on a pumper, which is almost all the time, happens almost all the time. I don't care how good you are. dumping water all over the street can make things pretty exciting for a work environment. So it solves that problem as well.
On my end, most of the roads are gravel roads and winter fires. If you're working a good fire, you'll create a pothole under that truck, and that really is eliminated.
Amazing. Tell me about the tablet. So it's not just that the panel that I see behind you on the actual pump panel, on both sides of the pump panel. There's actually a tablet where I can go wireless and walk around, right?
Correct. So walk
me through that thing.
What it is the tablet is actually an extension of our driver's side screen. So the two tablet or the two screen interfaces on both sides of the truck are completely independent. If one goes down, the other one will operate. We've never had 5 years, almost 5 years now. We've never had anything go down yet. So it's not like a third check. If the two go down, you have the tablet. You can walk around. When I get on and I need firefighters, I'll grab the tablet, pack them up, send them to a line, and I'll do a 360. I'll do my 360 with the tablet in hand and charge the lines and basically run the truck as I'm doing my 360. So that's really the benefit. I don't have to stand next to the truck to run the truck.
What's the range on that tablet?
It's a long way. We were the first to have a tablet, I believe, and it was 200 feet until they added some updates and added an antenna. And actually, our antenna we discovered was installed too low into the apparatus. So we got that at a higher location. Now if you're that far from the apparatus, you're fighting somebody else's fire. It's a long way.
That's great. You get the wrong incident, man.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Chief Hire, what do you guys,
additionally,
are you walking with that tablet pretty far?
Yeah, I think we've had it out to about 1,500 feet and been working it. And so we have 4 trucks with Sam on it, and I'd say the one thing that we can do is if I need manpower, I can have one guy. I've had one guy running 3 trucks. So the engineer might just bring the tablet over for his truck and hand it off, and you can have one guy running 3 trucks, and then I can take my manpower up there to fight fire.
Man, I hadn't even thought about that. That you could have one person running multiple apparatus. Yeah. My next thought was, what's the downside of that? What are the risks?
Well, you definitely need to mark your tablet so you know what trucks, that he's doing. And if you run into some kind of a problem, it can be a little bit taxing on one guy. So I'm not saying it's the answer for everyday use, but if you get into a situation where you need manpower, it is certainly a possibility and easily done.
So the logical question to me, I came up as a volunteer and then was in a combination fire department, and where we, even on the career side of the house, we operate with minimum of 3-person staffing. I'm curious to hear both of you. How has it influenced your kind of standard operating guidelines, or how is the pump operator's job different on a fire ground? And what efficiencies are you finding? How are you taking advantage of this technology from a tactical perspective?
Well, we're a 4-man normal truck, 3-man minimum staffing. So yeah, it allows that pump operator to be able to help. Like if I'm the captain, I come off the truck and do my 360 and all that. The pump operator can help stretch the hose line, be at the front door, go and hook to the hydrant. Like I said, because you can, if he takes a tablet, whenever we call for water, that's ready to go. And then he can open it up and take water from the hydrant as soon as he gets that open. So the pump operator is just able to do a lot more functions without being tied right to that pump panel.
And Chief, how about you? What are you doing from a tactical perspective with this?
It's become just standard operating that whoever's running the truck is. We've eliminated probably 2 personnel. They have the tablet in hand. They're delivering tools, laying out tool tarps, SCBA tarps, that type of thing. It just opens up everything. You're basically eliminating a couple personnel that you needed before. They can do the tasks that tasks of three personnel and still be right on top of everything. All that information is right there in the tablet, your tank, how it's doing, everything. Your individual lines, and they are individual. You can have one line at 35 PSI, one line at 145, one at 175. They're all independent of one another. And when somebody shuts down one line, they don't spike the other 2 lines. It's really, really incredible.
It's a good question. How does it manage things like water hammers and less than ideal nozzle movement? How is it dealing with that, or does it?
Oh, it does. Here's one situation where I think it pretty well spells out the entire process or how the system is beneficial. A couple years ago, I had our first fatal in 85 years, civilian. And it was indicated that the gentleman perished due to smoke inhalation before we were even en route. But upon getting there, 75% of the home was involved, and the 25%, the bedroom that wasn't on fire, that's where the gentleman was. And we knew he was in there. What was odd was the fire was in December, 3:00 in the morning, where I'm going to get a full crew. And for whatever reason, that day, everybody was out of town. I got on scene first, and my SAM apparatus, my frontline engine, called en route, and I thought to myself, that's weird. I got a guy that's driving the truck that's 2 years. And then they arrive, and I have 5 guys in my truck, and a couple of them are 2 years. I got a 3-year guy, and I have 2 rookies, 1 probationary and another rookie. I'm thinking, holy smokes, no officers, no, what do I do? So I pulled one of my guys, the probationary guy, right to the front of the house. I said, everything on this side of the house is on fire. Don't worry about it. Charged his line, got him to a pressure. He put a fog to protect the room from the other side of the room from fire. Grabbed the other rookie, pulled him around. He had his own line, got him set up, gave him instructions, charged his line right next to him, gave him the pressure he needed. And the other 3, I sent them in with a line to protect from the inside of that bedroom until we could get more to extricate the gentleman. Gentleman was almost 300 pounds, and it was a hoarding situation where we weren't going to get him out without additional help. But in the meantime, I was able to basically run those 3 lines, waiting for assisting departments. I pulled a portable monitor myself, got it in position, fired it up, and left it. And that kept the flames down or the heat down, so we could manage the scene. And all from
so
a
you were the
tablet.
incident commander, the pump operator, and the training officer all at the same time.
Everything, yes, all at the same time at 3:00 in the morning.
That's amazing.
And I will let you know the family was extremely appreciative of having an open casket funeral. Guy wasn't damaged, heat damage, no smoke damage other than the inhalation he suffered. So
How is this? In your states, how do you certify pump operators? Is there a state certification where you guys are?
ours
Two
is
different states.
department by department, whatever jurisdiction feels comfortable. My department has always been this way, at least since the dawning of our department, our regular trucks since the 50s. We train our guys from the pump out to the nozzle instead of the nozzle back to the pump. So everybody knows how to run a truck when they get on.
We do.
Well, I mean, go ahead, Chief.
Missouri does have state certification that we try to put all of our guys through. It's not mandatory, but that is what we use. But it is going to change. There's just a lot of steps that this technology takes care of that when you're doing your practical testing, we found out that the evaluators realized that this system takes care of so much that there wasn't a whole lot to evaluate. So our evaluations went very quickly.
Yeah, most of the things you would test, it's automated.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, that's why I was wondering how to even, like, gosh, in my brain, from a training perspective, I'm wondering, do I now want to, you could tell me what you've done. Have you separated the driving function from the pump operator function? Like it used to be, in some of the fire departments, that's a promotion to be, a DPO, pump operator, a chauffeur, all the various terms we have for it. That's actually a promotion. But it sounds like in your use cases, driving the rig is not necessarily attached to operating the rig. Does that make sense?
Right. And that is the way our testing is done also is you have core, which is your driving, and then, we have pumper and mobile water supply and then aerial.
I mean, I don't know. It's like, I like what you said, Chief Nass. You said you work from the pump to the nozzle instead of the nozzle to the pump. So explain that more. Give me a little more detail around that.
So due to our manpower, which has always been an issue, I'm a firehouse brat. I grew up, my dad was a chief of our department back in the 80s. It was a farming community back then, and whatever farmer gets out of the field first or gets down to the station, they're pulling apparatus, the front line. I got on the department in '89, and day one, I was driving. And in our department's always been the driver runs the pump until they're relieved by somebody with more experience or chain of command. And so when we get on, we get our new firefighters on, they learn right from the pump. They learn how to draft. They may not even see a fire ground their first few fires. They're back at a draft site. They completely understand tanker shuttles, where your water comes from, how it's delivered, what manner, before they ever get to the end of a nozzle. And that's best case scenario, because with manpower, sometimes they're going to be on the end of a nozzle or supporting whoever's on the nozzle.
How do you see this operating in a large metro department? Any major city, just from like a vision kind of standpoint, visionary sort of stuff. What impacts do you think this would have in a major metro city related to tactics and staffing? How would you see that playing out? Either one of you can take a swing at that one.
I think
Go ahead, Alan.
once they start using it, I don't see anything that would hinder. I just don't think it changes much from a rural setting to a city setting as far as that goes. Other than you're going to have I think you can get. I really believe you get water on the fire quicker because you're just making you're eliminating steps. Everything happens faster. Um, so I mean, it's just going to take some cities to embrace that there is some new technology that is working and use it. And I don't see any problems with it. And my experience on our department, the older guys probably bought into it faster than the younger guys. They just appreciated the fact that, hey, I don't have to think through all this and do all these manual activities. This truck's doing it for me, and they love it. I mean, my older guys wouldn't. Their first thing is, this is what I've been waiting my whole career for, is for somebody to develop this.
Mm-hmm.
Chief Nass, anything to add on that? Big city perspective?
I can't speak on the big cities, but my saying is, if you're not ordering this on your apparatus, I don't care who you are, you're doing a disservice to your firefighters, period. And I felt that way from day one, but now that I'm almost 5 years into it, now I really like to say that, and that angers a lot of people, but it angers chiefs around my jurisdiction, and I tell them, if you're not ordering this, then you're doing a disservice to your firefighters, period. It's that revolutionary, period.
You can't make change without making them mad first.
No.
So,
no.
You're on the right path.
We combine ours. I have a drone guy. I have a full-time firefighter that was on our department and actually lives across the street from the fire hall. And when he's off duty, he takes his drone and he'll usually beat us to a scene. But we've embraced the technology where I can see the thermal imaging of my house fire or structure fire, and in combination with the SAM system and thermal imaging above the structure, it's amazing what you can do and how quickly you can put out a fire. Where these are the times. If you're not utilizing the technology, you're fighting the same fire you did back in the 90s or the 80s or whatever. I put my fires out quicker. They're thorough. Just the combination of the technology that's available is amazing.
Out of curiosity, what sort of maintenance? So one of my pet peeves when I was on the job was, I hated it. It would drive me nuts if I saw a pump operator like standing at 90 degrees, like Batman climbing a building, trying to get a valve open, because they didn't maintain and keep those valves lubed, which just drive me nuts. Does that have any bearing on this thing? Like, do you have to ensure that a certain maintenance level is maintained, or this thing? How does it interact with that?
I'll answer that. What's great about it, and it was unknown to us until actually a couple years after we had it, is it goes through a process sitting there at the station. It opens each valve and closes each valve, and it does that every week. So, boom, can you believe that? It's sitting there and it goes through these processes, so you don't have valves you normally wouldn't open on a normal basis sticking or getting that corrosion, that type of thing. So it does that unbeknownst to us.
It's running a maintenance cycle sitting in the firehouse.
Correct.
Yes. Good
grief. All right. That's remarkable. So I'm curious to know, with digital technology, typically comes data and reporting. What is this rascal telling you guys? The system. What are you learning from it? Surely it's recording. Whether it be time benchmarks or something. Does it give you any kind of data analysis or anything?
Not that I know of, but it may. I'm sure they have something back at SAM that they're figuring out, but not that I really know of. But I will tell you this: it gives you a number that no other truck in the world does, and that's for drafting departments, that's the negative number. When you're pulling that draft, when I say it makes you a better engineer, it makes you an expert engineer. And I'll go up against any engineer in the world and I will beat them at their game. Because it gives you that negative number, it's exact, it's real time. I can do things that they can't do, things that they've relied on the sound of the engine, the RPMs. I have 4 or 5.
Can you pull another line? That would be the great question, right?
4 or 5 lines pulled, and I'm running at minus 18, 20, and I know my pump's going to cavitate at 23 or 22. It's sketchy depending on how cold it is or whatever. If I get a operations guy say, can we pull another line? I can smile and say yes, because I can tweak all my hose lines out there. And I can get that down to minus 15 with another line. And when they jump back up to minus 19, minus 20, they come to me and say, can I add another line? I smile and say, yes, I can add another line. I'll just open up another intake. I'll throw another draft on the other side. Now I went from flowing 1,700 gallons a minute on my 1,500 gallon a minute pump. I can flow 2,400 gallons. And I can get that down to minus 10, minus 12, where other departments would have never added 2 lines. They just would have cavitated the pump and start all over again. But there's things you can do with this system that you can't do with any other pump in the world. And that's that exact negative number that it's showing you real time on that SAM system.
So
amazing.
It is recording some data too, and some data that you can see live that I've found interesting, like your water temperature. So it's going to give you a warning anytime that your pump water temperature gets warm, which we never knew before. You know, we burn up pumps with hot water all the time because we didn't know. And it'll open up additional valves to try to cool it off, but it gives you a warning. I can go on there and look and see how many times that I've had an overheat, water temperature overheat. You can look at the pump oil temperature. You can look at the life of your anodes, your pump anodes. You know, before I've had pumps fail and they say, yeah, your anodes were completely gone. Well, we never knew anything about the pump anodes. Well, you can see the life of them when they've gone bad. So it does give you I think it gives you a lot of pump data. It gives you maintenance information, and I think it's going to actually probably increase the longevity of the pump, just because it's not going to let you do some of the things that we did before.
Amazing. Yeah, I'd asked, that was one of my first questions when I was seeing this demonstrated was, like, is this thing recording? Is it capturing data points? And they said, yeah, it's capturing everything. It's just a matter of how does it output it, you know, and in what format would it output? So that's one of my kind of pet peeves is data beyond the air brake, because most of the metrics we study are related to response time. So we get the dispatch, you know, the 911 call received all the way up to the air brake when we get on scene, and that's when all the clocks stop. But that's just when all the tactics start.
Right.
So the technology is starting to evolve in such a way with this type of system, from the nozzles to the pumps that are actually recording information. We're not there yet, but we're getting close to be able to automate some of these things. Looking at the nearest data standard, they're asking for timestamps for size up complete, water on the fire. There were 2 or 3 different tactical benchmarks related to fire suppression that this truck could potentially know that in an automated fashion rather than having to be a radio call, which I think could be pretty darn amazing. We're getting there.
It knows it now, and it's just going to be the fact of us giving them feedback to let them know, hey, here's the information that we want to know back out of the truck.
Right. There are a couple of things I saw at that conference that really, like I said, we're not there yet, but we're getting real darn close. I saw technology related to firefighter location on an X, Y, and a Z axis, that we can not only track where you are on a horizontal plane, but we can also now go up the stairs with you and know where you are. I saw this technology related to capturing the actual firefighting tactical information, the automation of the pump operations. I also saw another piece of technology that was using basically a virtual reality headset for incident command. And of course, classic firefighter response, our initial response to that is, my guys ain't gonna wear that thing. It looks stupid standing out there. You know what I mean? It's like you can see that would, it's going to happen. It already has. So, but what I think we're not understanding is when all these things come together, that if I'm looking firefighter location on a computer or on a tablet or whatever is one thing. If I have to look in my command post over here and see it. But what if I can look at the building while it's on fire and I can see a pin of where my firefighters are inside the building? I'm looking at the building and it's literally showing me they're on the second floor right there in that corner. And I can see them with the location system there. I can see what their hose line status is through the system that you guys are using. I can see if they're flowing. I can see what they're flowing, how long they've been flowing, how much have they flowed. I can see all that information. I can see all the other data streams that are related to that, from the building plans to the, who knows, throw the kitchen sink in there, all in a heads-up display. I think incident command will look a lot different in about 10 years than what it has historically.
Couple that with thermal imaging.
Yes, thermal imaging. Getting that feedback from the firefighters themselves so I can see what they see. From drones, we saw a lot of drone information. I thought for a long time every battalion chief vehicle in the world should have a drone sitting on the roof, and just straight up and give me a vertical look real quick. It's amazing what is possible over the next few years as we start to wrap this technology together. It should be pretty cool.
One thing we haven't discussed is the one item that gains the largest attention on when we're assisting another department, or actually somebody's coming in and assisting us, is it talks too. So it announces over the fire ground, hose charging or SAM pump ready. It's it talks, and it's pretty loud. So when you hear that for the first time, it's pretty, wow, your fire truck talks.
I wonder if that's programmable. I'm just thinking all the silly things we'd have it say.
Right.
Yeah.
But hang on, son.
Yeah.
Things like, but anyway.
That the whole,
so that is literally talking to you on the fire ground.
The whole interface, which we really didn't talk about, it's completely customizable in saying that all my lines, I've named all my net lines: front bumper orange, crosslay red, crosslay blue, white, passenger side intake, driver side. At 3 a.m., I don't know what an officer side is. At 3 a.m., I'm not thinking. So everything we renamed specifically. You can program each line. I have programmed where certain lines are cross slays, are pre-connects. They don't go over 200 psi. You program the pre-connects to the exact psi you want. When you program the smart nozzle, the smart nozzle is programmed to the exact pressure you want at the nozzle, not at the truck, but actually at the nozzle, which is a huge difference. If you're hitting a button and you say, go ahead, charge the line, you're going to get that pressure. Another thing is you can't screw it up. You don't swipe something and go, oh my gosh, what did I just do? It always comes back and asks you yes or no. Do you want to do this? So it's kind of foolproof and completely customizable.
And Chief, you're using the audible announcements on your system as well?
Yeah, that's
that like
standard as far as I know. And yeah, everybody gets used to it because it'll announce when you have draft established. It'll say draft established or hydrant established. It'll announce that. So, I mean, pretty much everybody that's on the fire ground can hear those announcements whenever it happens.
Water levels, I would assume. Does it hit benchmarks on your
It does
tank level?
not hit benchmarks on the water level.
Okay. That would seem like, unless you're using the nozzle. If I got the nozzle, I can look at the
you can
nozzle
look
and
at
see.
that. Yep.
I'm sure
what
it's
the water level is.
programmable. I'm sure they actually, it could probably announce that. My guess is, if you wanted that.
Yeah.
I could see a half a tank or something.
Foam's another thing that's programmable on there. So if you're using foam and you want that to come on automatically when you charge the line, you can program that into any line, or you could have it where you select it separate. So you can basically program any hand line to do whatever you want to do with it ahead of time. So, I mean, we spent a day, I say, but really probably 3 or 4 hours setting the truck up to what we wanted all the pressures to run on the lines and whether we wanted foam or not, programming, and then you're done. It's going to do the same thing every time, no matter who's operating the truck.
On the foam end, we actually eliminated all the percentages, and we labeled it structure fire foam, car fire foam, overhaul foam. So we set the percentages and just renamed it, so you really didn't have to think about what kind of foam you wanted, what the percentage was.
So what do you guys, kind of a closing thought, what is your message to fire departments that run with 3 or 4 person engine companies that, are going to be reluctant to want to look at technology like this? What is your closing comments for them on your opinion on what they should be like? What's your last shot at them?
Go ahead, Alan.
Really just try to get their hands on it at some point. I mean, once you get your hands on it, you use it, you see it, it sells itself. It doesn't need anything else.
I had a department. Of course, I've been at it, I think, the longest. So I've talked to chiefs all over the country. It used to be on a weekly basis. Now, with so many SAM units out there, now I'm getting a call basically once a month from somebody somewhere. I get a lot of cold weather state calls from chiefs that are in cold weather states. And I've had a lot of departments out to my department, and they've traveled quite a distance to look at it, and they're sold immediately because we set it up and we don't tell them anything. We just say, run it. I had a department specifically that was looking at our manufacturer here in Michigan. Our buildup is a Spencer Manufacturing here in Michigan. And they were just going to purchase a Spencer unit. So they wanted to see one in action. And they weren't interested in SAM, but we had other ideas. They came and we said, just run it. And now they've got the SAM system on their apparatus. Once their guys started working it, they're like, we're not ordering a truck without this system. It sells itself, just like Alan says. It's amazing. There are no.
How much are we? What's the cost? I mean, are we talking? We're talking about buying a pumper these days. We're knocking on $500,000 for the most part. How does this fit in the cost structure? Is it something that's really incredibly expensive? Is it affordable? What are you seeing from both of your departments?
Go ahead, Chief.
I think the affordability, I'm not sure what the cost. I think the cost has changed over time. I'm not quite sure where it is. I don't think it's that much more expensive than getting a system where you can operate on both sides of the truck and then walk around. There's really nothing comparative other than the actual dollars. That upgrade, I think, is eventually going to be standard on trucks. I believe as soon as 10 years, this will be the only system you're going to be able to utilize. So I don't think the upgrade cost is significant enough not to have it when you're talking about a truck over 20 to 30 years of service.
Chief, you seen anything higher? Chief Hire, you seen anything related to cost? Do you have any sense of that?
I mean, so it all depends on where you're starting at, because a lot of the cost is in your electric valves, because each one of the valves have to be electric versus manual valves. So, I mean, I know there's a pretty significant if you're going from a 100% manual truck, which we all know now. I mean, I think 3-inch or above valve has to be electric anyway, or something besides manual. So there is some cost to it, but I mean, the cost benefit seems to outweigh what the cost is. But it all depends on where you're starting from. Just the SAM control system, I don't think is that outrageous. Maybe if you're talking about completely, upgrading all your valves and all that, then it gets a little more significant. I still don't think it's probably very much considering the cost of a truck. It's not hard to build $1 million fire truck now, and it's not very significant in that aspect.
Right. Well, considering the tactical value of it, it's almost like adding a person.
Right. Yeah.
Which would be more expensive.
Yeah,
So,
a lot more.
No, you're exactly right.
Yeah, I
amazing.
would say it's probably less than a year's salary on an average firefighter. So,
well, Chief Hire and Nass, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to come on the show. I'm sure folks will be reaching out once this hits the air. I suspect there might be some controversy. At least I hope there will be, because we should be talking about it. I've been known to stir the pot in the past. I don't mind stirring it now. So I'm glad to put this conversation on the table about what we could do with this. I think it will make firefighters more efficient, enhance our ability to save our civilians' lives, and possibly even make our firefighters safer. So I'm pretty excited about this technology. So thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
That's this episode of Fire Service Data and Tech Talk. This is the last one for 2023. So I want to wish everybody a great holiday season and a happy new year. You can find us on Facebook on Fire Service Data and Tech Talk. We have a page there. You can find us at You can find us at Data Tech Talk. There it is on Twitter. And you can also always find me on LinkedIn. So I hope everybody has a good rest of 23, and let's go out and have some fun in 2024. Everybody stay safe.
Fire Service Data and Tech Talk.
The Fire Store, equipping protectors with passion. Every decision the Fire Store makes as a company is about its customers. As the holiday season has quickly approached, explore a wide selection of unique and practical gifts at the Fire Store's Gift Center. Find the perfect presents for firefighters, EMTs, and first responders today. The Fire Store's goal is to get you the gear you need when you need it at prices you can afford. Visit thefirestore.com for everything but the truck and shop its family of brands including Streamlight, MSA, Lion, FLIR, and more.
Breathing in diesel exhaust fumes is like walking into a fire without a mask. Over time, those toxins lead to cancer. Protect yourself with MagneGrip, the easiest, most reliable exhaust removal system that features a true 100% seal to eliminate diesel exhaust fumes. To get free grant assistance, visit MagneGrip.com.